What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and today we're talking about the Grandia HD Collection because this has finally come to the PlayStation and Xbox, and this is just such a good set of games that have been surprisingly controversial. But let's talk about the improvements, the fixes, what it is, and what I actually think of it as a Grandia superfan. Hi, I hope you're having a great day. If you could, give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Now, I bet you're wondering why I'm talking about this again, because it did initially come out 5 years ago on the Nintendo Switch, but it's been an exclusive on this for a half decade. Well, I decided to buy it again on PlayStation because I was curious what improvements have been made since that initial release. When it first came out, it was very much loved, but some people were slightly confused. This is the first two Grandia games, the original Grandia and Grandia 2, which came out on the Dreamcast and the PlayStation 2, and these are very beloved classic RPGs. They've got hand-drawn art, they're fully voice-acted, they're some of the first role-playing games where every character talks. And there is some really good acting in this, but a lot of people are just curious about how they decided to handle these games. Most specifically, when it first came out on Switch, it was incredibly glitchy. The games would crash, your save files would corrupt, and a lot of times there was dramatic slowdown. Thankfully, none of that exists at all in the PlayStation and Xbox versions. The games now are completely seamless, other than one rather strange choice. But let me talk about Grandia 1 and Grandia 2 and why I love them so much, why so many fans are totally obsessed with them. These are turn-based RPGs. They're games where you're wandering around, getting in fights, grinding to level up, and fighting some pretty big bosses, but the fun part of it, in my opinion, is just how quirky the entire universe is. In the first game, we're playing as a guy named Justin and his little friend Sue as they go on a big quest, but they're actual children. So while fighting evil armies and sadistic generals and stuff, it's all handled with this really fun slapstick humor that really comes across great. Now, when these games first came out, I very much appreciated that sprite style because it is just so expressive. The characters' individual faces and different reactions are just so detailed that I always thought it was so cool that they managed to convey so much with 30-year-old technology at this point, and even more so in freaking Grandia 2, where we're playing as a bounty hunter called Ryudo who ends up getting stuck tied up in this big quest to try and stop the actual devil from getting reincarnated. Both of these games are incredibly fun, but personally, I actually prefer Grandia 2 just a slight bit more, mostly because the soundtracks of both these games are incredibly cool, but especially in the sequel, Grandia 2 has full-on guitar riffs, it's got crazy vocal tracks just wailing during boss fights, and the combat in both of these games is incredibly unique. I genuinely think that this is the best turn-based combat system that has ever been created. So the way it works is that in each turn, you're waiting for your chance to attack or cast magic or to heal. And while you're waiting for your next chance to strike, you can see there is this bar on the bottom of the screen with you and all of your opponents that are currently waiting to hit. But what's interesting is that whenever you choose an attack, whether it is a big fire spell or something that's going to fix your friend's poison or something like that, what's cool is that you can hit people, but you can also cancel attacks. Your special moves, if another opponent is about to do their big heal or try and revive a friend or something like that, if you manage to do a big attack during it, you can actually stop them from doing their move, which means that a lot of bosses will have like multiple different health bars. They'll have a health bar for their hands or a health bar for their blade or something like that. And so they'll have different times where they're on the action bar and you can interrupt their next super attack or their next heal. And it makes it where fights are not just strategic, they all feel like this cool, delicate dance of attack, think about your next move, help out your buddy, save up a super strike so you can hit them in their weak point. The entirety of these games is just so deep and fun. And I've always thought like just the way that they managed to show this stuff is so ahead of its time. And that's part of why I enjoyed these remasters so much. They have redone the sprites. They redid the little tiny picture profiles during cutscenes. They've upscaled a lot of stuff so it looks a lot cleaner. Texture art, and of course they made it completely widescreen. The games look dramatically better, but that does bring me to the singular part of this game that people seem to be the most annoyed about, which has still not been visually fixed or patched even in this half decade, which is the smoothing filter. Now, if you're getting this on PlayStation, there is this extra strange wrinkle, which is that you can play the original Grandia already on the PlayStation 5. This is the version that's currently on the system, and this is actually just a straight rip of the original PS1 version, so it does look a little bit different. Now, this clip you're looking at here is from a little bit later in the game, so ignore the nighttime smoky cloud effects, but you can still tell the fact that there is this like classic CRT filter to make it look like an old school PS1 TV, whereas the new one, obviously it has that weird smoothing filter, which some people completely despise. I do still think that they should have made an option to turn this off, because in the menu itself, you're able to pick a language, you can customize controls, you can make it so you auto sprint or don't. Like, since there is already just some nice quality of life features to make the game more custom to your experience, it feels a bit strange that they didn't add the option to, if you want, turn off these smoothing filters. I mean, to me, I actually enjoy the smoothing filters. I think they look completely fine, but I understand that some fans that are looking for that more natural, raw, original experience just on their current console, they're not going to be thrilled about that. And speaking of trophy hunters, because you guys know I like to platinum stuff on my PlayStation, this does have 2 separate platinum trophies, and I looked through the trophies. I'm not going to show them because they're surprisingly spoilerific, but essentially, you're just pretty much beating both the games. Beat them, do a little tiny bit of the side stuff. Because these are early RPGs, they don't really have a ton of side quests or optional dungeons. They're pretty straightforward. And that's kind of what encapsulates this HD collection. It is the games presented in a straightforward fashion. There's nothing new, there's no crazy extra stuff, there's no massive weirdo alterations. It is the exact same games. And if you're looking for that, I think these have aged great. If you're looking for a classic RPG that's very approachable, very straightforward, very fun, and in my opinion, still freaking beautiful, that is the Grandia HD Collection. It being $40 does seem slightly high, but as a fan of these games, I paid it, and I definitely had a big smile on my face while getting it. So what do you guys think about the Grandia HD Collection? Are you glad these games have finally come to the Xbox and to the PlayStation? Tell me your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you could, give this video a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and please keep dreaming. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.